The twin moons of Nerath 9 hung over the sky like two pale eyes watching the city that never slept. The streets were filled with the noise of engines, vendors, and neon lights that shimmered across steel walls. In the middle of this chaos, an alien child named Luma stood quietly in front of a bright shop window. Her small silver-blue hands pressed against the glass, her large eyes glowing faintly as she looked at the beautiful Starlight doll inside. The doll floated in the air, shining softly, its face smiling like a living being. It moved and spoke when touched, powered by something rare, an empathy crystal. For most children on Nerath 9, owning one meant happiness, comfort, and status. But for Luma, it was only a dream. Behind her stood her mother, Raylan, her skin pale and cracked from years of labor. She wore a torn gray cloak and clutched a few metal coins in her hand, never enough. Her heart broke as she watched her daughter stare at the doll. "I'm sorry, my little star," Raylan whispered. "I can't buy you the Starlight doll for your birthday." Her voice trembled. She turned away quickly, afraid her daughter might see her cry. But Luma, gentle and innocent, smiled and said softly, "It's okay, Mama. I still have you." The words cut deeper than any blade. Raylan felt a sting in her chest. She wanted to give her daughter everything, a home, safety, love. But all she had were scraps and broken promises. Across the street, a tall human man in a dark coat stopped to watch. Commander Elias Gray, an officer from the Human Union, was visiting the alien district for inspection. His face carried old scars, both from war and guilt. He had seen too many colonies, too many lives destroyed in the name of peace. Now, standing there, he felt something stir inside him when he saw the little alien girl and her mother. The scene was too human, too real. He turned to his partner, Sergeant Miller, who was busy scanning trade permits. "You ever seen one of those dolls?" Elias asked. Miller laughed. "Yeah, my niece has one. Costs more than a month's salary. Those aliens shouldn't even be here begging. They slow down the trade routes." Elias frowned but said nothing. He knew arguing wouldn't change anything. Still, as the patrol moved on, his eyes kept drifting back to Raylan and Luma. The mother was holding her daughter close, trying to hide from the cold wind that cut through the metal streets. For a moment, Elias thought of his own mother, long dead on Earth. He remembered her hands, rough but kind, holding him close after his father went off to war. That same look of worry was now in the alien woman's eyes. Hours passed. The sky darkened as neon lights flickered to life. The market slowly emptied, leaving only the hum of drones flying above. Raylan and Luma walked back to their small shelter on the city's lower level, a place humans rarely went. The air smelled of rust and oil. Broken droids and machinery lay scattered like the bones of forgotten dreams. Raylan worked here every day, fixing scraps to earn a few credits. Sometimes she didn't eat so that her daughter could have food, but tonight she had saved one tiny piece of sweetbread from the market, a small gift for Luma's birthday. They sat together under the faint light of a broken lamp. Raylan tore the bread in half and gave the bigger piece to her daughter. Luma took it with joy, smiling as if it were the best meal in the galaxy. "Make a wish," Mama said. Luma closed her eyes. "I wish for a Starlight doll, but if I can't have it, I wish Mama will smile more." Raylan's eyes filled with tears again. She turned her face away, pretending to fix a tool. "You're too kind, my little one. Someday, maybe." At that moment, the door outside clanged open. Two human guards stepped in, their armor shining. One of them barked, "Alien Citizen Raylan!" "You're operating past curfew hours." Raylan stood quickly. "I'm sorry, officers. I didn't know." The guard kicked over a crate. "Save it, you aliens always have excuses. You're lucky we don't fine you." Luma clung to her mother's leg, frightened. The second guard laughed cruelly. "Look at that, she's teaching her kid to beg already." "Stop it," Raylan said weakly. "She's just a child." The guard stepped closer. "Then control her, or next time she'll be taken to the workhouse." A voice came from the doorway. "That's enough." Both guards turned. Elias Gray stood there, his face calm but his tone sharp. "The air grew heavy. Commander!" one guard said quickly. "We didn't realize." "You realized enough," Elias replied. "Leave them." "But sir, they're violating." "I said leave them," he repeated, his eyes cold. The guards saluted, muttered under their breath, and left. The silence that followed was thick. Raylan looked at the human with fear and confusion. Why did you help us?" she asked softly. Elias hesitated. "Because no one else would." He looked around the small shelter, the broken tools, the weak lights, the sleeping mat on the floor. "You work with machines." Raylan nodded slowly. "I fix what others throw away. It's all I can do." He crouched beside a rusted droid. "You're good with your hands." "It keeps us alive," she whispered. Luma peeked from behind her mother, her glowing eyes curious. "Are you a soldier?" Elias smiled faintly. "Used to be. Now I just try to make things right." "Are you a good man?" the child asked innocently. He froze. No one had asked him that in years. After a long pause, he said, "I'm trying to be." Raylan's eyes softened, but only for a moment. She knew kindness from a human could be dangerous. "You should go. If others see you here, they will punish both of us." Elias nodded. "You're right. I'll go." He turned to leave, but before stepping out, he looked back at the little girl sitting beside her mother. The faint blue light from her eyes reflected on the metal walls. "Happy birthday, Luma," he said quietly, and walked into the darkness. That night, Raylan sat awake long after her daughter had fallen asleep. Outside, the wind howled through the cracks of their shelter. She stared at the ceiling, thinking of the human who had helped her. Humans were known for their cruelty, for building empires across the stars. Yet that one man had looked at her not as a servant, not as an alien, but as a person. Still, she told herself not to hope. Hope was dangerous on Nerath 9. It made you believe in miracles, and miracles always cost something. Far above, in the higher districts of the city, Elias sat in his quarters, staring at the faint glow of a datapad. The system log showed the alien woman's file. Raylan of the Kareth species. Labor class. No record of violence. One dependent child. He sighed and closed the screen. His reflection looked back at him, tired and guilty. He poured himself a glass of water and stared out the window. From here, the lower levels were just dots of light, tiny, distant lives no one cared about. "Just one child," he muttered. "One doll." His mind kept replaying the moment. The little girl's eyes shining with hope. Her mother's tears, the way she said, "I can't buy you a Starlight doll for your birthday." Elias clenched his fists. The galaxy was full of weapons, wars, and power. But what did it mean if a mother couldn't even give her child a small gift? He didn't know it yet, but this single thought would pull him into something far greater than pity. It would lead him into a fight against the system itself. Outside, thunder rolled across the skies of Nerath 9. The city lights flickered as if the heavens themselves were warning him. Somewhere in the dark, the small alien girl dreamed of a glowing doll made of stars. And somewhere else, a human soldier decided that tomorrow he would make that dream come true, no matter the cost. The next morning, the city of Nerath 9 woke up under a heavy purple sky. The hum of machines filled the air as workers moved like shadows through the narrow streets. On the lower levels, Raylan tied a worn scarf around her head and began her daily walk to the scrapyard. Her daughter Luma followed, carrying a small bag of broken droid parts. They looked tired but not hopeless. Raylan always tried to smile for her child, even when her hands ached and her heart felt hollow. Today was different. Somewhere deep inside, she still remembered the human who had helped them last night, Commander Elias Gray. His eyes had not been cold like other humans. There was kindness there hidden behind the scars. Still, she knew better than to trust. On Nerath 9, kindness could be a trap. At the same time, in the upper district, Elias couldn't forget them either. He had spent the night staring at the ceiling of his room, unable to rest. The memory of the crying alien mother and her child haunted him. He walked to his desk, opened a locked drawer, and pulled out a small black box. Inside it lay a glowing shard, an empathy crystal, rare and illegal for aliens to own. It was meant for human officers, to help control emotional stress during war. But to a child, it could power a Starlight doll for life. Elias looked at it for a long moment. Then he whispered to himself, "Maybe one act of good can pay for a lifetime of wrongs." He put the crystal in his pocket, grabbed his coat, and left his quarters, not as a commander today, but as a man trying to make things right. The market was alive again when he arrived. Alien vendors shouted prices in mixed languages. Steam rose from food stalls. Drones buzzed above, watching everything. Elias moved carefully, trying not to draw attention. His military badge was hidden under his coat. He searched through the crowd until he spotted the small figure of Luma sitting by a pile of scrap, tinkering with broken metal arms. She was humming softly, her eyes glowing as she tried to make the machine move. Raylan was nearby, pulling wires from old droids and placing them into boxes. Elias approached slowly. "You're working hard this morning," he said. Raylan turned, startled. "Commander?" she whispered. Her hands froze. "You shouldn't be here." "Don't call me that," Elias said quietly. "Today I'm just Elias," she frowned. "If the patrol sees you here, they'll think I bribed you." "They could take my child away," he nodded. "I know the risk, but I came to offer you something better than fear." Raylan stared at him. "And what could a human possibly offer?" "Work," he said simply. "Honest work. I know traders who need repair techs for broken drones. They pay in credits, not rations. You're skilled. I can recommend you." Her hands trembled slightly. "And why would you do that? Out of pity?" Elias looked her in the eyes. "Out of respect." For a moment, silence hung between them. Then Luma giggled, holding up the small robot she had fixed. "Look, Mama. It moves again." The droid's head turned and blinked weakly. Elias smiled. "That's impressive, Luma. You have your mother's hands." The little girl blushed, hiding behind her mother's cloak. Raylan's expression softened a little. "She likes to build things. Says she'll make machines that don't hurt anyone." "That's a good dream," Elias said. "Keep it safe." They worked side by side for the next few hours. Raylan repaired broken drone shells while Elias helped her sort parts. For the first time in a long while, she felt seen. He didn't treat her like property. He asked questions about her work, about Luma, about her people. In return, she told him pieces of her story. How her planet, Kareth, was rich in crystal mines before the war. How humans came promising trade, then took everything. How her husband had died in the mines and how she escaped here with her child. Elias listened quietly. Each word felt like a knife cutting deeper into his conscience. He had been part of the same army that did this, the same empire that broke her world. When the day ended, he handed her a small packet. "Here, food rations, and some credits." Raylan shook her head. "I can't take your money." "It's payment," he said, "for helping me fix those drones. Fair trade." She hesitated, then accepted it slowly. "Thank you," Elias smiled. "You're welcome." "And Raylan, don't lose hope yet." But even as he spoke, a group of human overseers noticed them from across the yard. Their faces turned cold. One whispered something into a communicator. That night, as Elias walked back toward the checkpoint, his comm device buzzed. "Commander Gray," a sharp voice said. It was Captain Rhodes, his superior. "We received reports that you were seen fraternizing with alien citizens in Zone 3. Care to explain?" Elias stopped walking. "I was inspecting trade compliance. Don't play games with me. The Council already suspects you of sympathizing with them. You want to lose your post?" Elias clenched his jaw. "No, sir." "Then stay away from them. We're soldiers, not saviors. Leave alien matters to the system." The line went dead. Elias stood there in silence, the neon lights flashing across his tired face. Inside his pocket, the empathy crystal pulsed softly, a reminder of the promise he hadn't yet fulfilled. Meanwhile, Raylan sat inside her shelter, turning the food packet in her hands. It had been years since she had tasted real human bread. She looked at Luma, who was fast asleep beside the little scrap robot. For the first time in years, she felt something she had buried long ago. Hope. But that feeling didn't last long. Suddenly, there was a loud knock on the door. She froze. The sound came again, harder this time. Before she could move, the door burst open and 3 human patrolmen stormed in with flashlights. "Raylan of Kareth?" One of them barked. She nodded, terrified. "You're under investigation for illegal contact with military personnel and possession of restricted items." "I don't understand," she began. The guard grabbed her arm roughly. "Save it. You think we don't know what you aliens are up to? Smuggling, trading crystals, breaking laws." Luma woke up crying. "Mama!" Raylan struggled to reach her, but the guards pulled her back. The little robot fell to the ground and broke apart. One of the men kicked the pieces aside. "That's enough playing human." "You're coming with us," Raylan screamed. "Please!" "My daughter." 2 guards dragged her outside while the 3rd tried to grab Luma. She bit his hand and ran to the corner, sobbing. At that very moment, the door behind them burst open again, and Elias stood there. "What are you doing?" His voice was calm but dangerous. The guard straightened immediately. "Commander Gray, sir. We were ordered to detain this alien. She's suspected of—" "Release her," Elias ordered. "Sir?" "You heard me." The guards exchanged confused looks. But Captain Rhodes said, "I said release her." Elias barked. His voice echoed through the metal hallway. They hesitated, then pushed Raylan forward roughly and left, muttering curses under their breath. When the door finally closed, silence filled the room again. Raylan collapsed to her knees, shaking. Luma ran to her and hugged her tightly. Elias stood there, breathing heavily. "I'm sorry," he said softly. "I didn't know they'd do this." Raylan looked up, tears running down her cheeks. "You shouldn't have come. They'll come for you next." "Let them," Elias said. "I'm done watching." He reached into his coat and pulled out the small black box. He opened it slowly, revealing the glowing empathy crystal. Its soft blue light filled the room. Luma gasped. "It's so pretty." "This," Elias said quietly, "is the heart of a Starlight doll." Raylan stared at it, unable to speak. "I wanted to give it to her," Elias continued, "so she could have what every child deserves, a reason to smile. But this crystal, it's forbidden," Raylan whispered. "I know," Elias said. "That's why it matters." For a brief, beautiful moment, all three of them just stared at the glowing crystal, the forbidden light that made their faces look warm and alive. It felt like hope. But then outside, alarms began to sound. A voice echoed from the loudspeakers. "Security breach. Unauthorized human-alien contact detected in Sector 12. Raylan's eyes widened. "They're coming." Elias looked toward the door, then at the crystal in his hand. "They can come, but I won't let them take you." He closed his fist around the light, determination burning in his eyes. For the first time in years, he knew exactly what he had to do, break the rules that never deserved to exist. Sirens screamed through the streets of Narath 9, red lights flashing against the steel walls. The air smelled of smoke and metal. Human soldiers ran toward Sector 12, rifles ready. Inside a small shelter, Elias Gray stood beside Raylan and her daughter Luma, holding the glowing empathy crystal tight in his hand. Raylan's breath came fast. "They will find us," she said in panic. "You should not have come back." Elias looked at her with calm eyes. "If I leave you now, they'll take you away. I can't let that happen." He opened the small black box again. The blue light of the crystal filled the dark room. "This crystal isn't just power," he said softly. "It's connection. It reacts to emotion, hope, love, fear. It feels what we feel." Luma stared at the light, her little hands trembling. "It feels alive," she whispered. Elias nodded. "That's because it remembers. It remembers everything it touches." The sound of boots echoed outside. The soldiers were getting closer. Raylan looked at Elias. "You'll be punished. Maybe killed. Why would a human risk everything for us?" He smiled faintly. "Because I once fought to destroy your world. I can't undo the past, but maybe I can do one thing right." He reached for her hand. "Trust me, Raylan. I'll get you both out." Before she could answer, the door burst open and human guards stormed in. "Hands up!" one of them shouted. Elias raised his weapon but didn't fire. "Don't do this," he said. "There's a child here," the guards didn't care. "Step away from the aliens, Commander. You're under arrest for treason." Elias's jaw tightened. "You want to arrest me? Fine, but they come with me," the leader sneered. "You've gone soft, Gray. They're animals, not people." Something in Elias broke at that moment. He fired a warning shot into the ceiling, sparks raining down. "Get out of my way!" The soldiers ducked, shouting. Raylan grabbed Luma and ran toward the back exit. Elias covered them, shooting at the control panel to seal the front door. Sparks exploded as metal shutters slammed down. "Go," he shouted. "Head for the lower tunnels." Raylan hesitated only for a second, then nodded. She pulled Luma's hand and ran. Elias followed, clutching the glowing crystal. The tunnels beneath Narath 9 were dark and endless, filled with the sounds of dripping water and echoing footsteps. Distant alarms still screamed above. Luma's small voice broke the silence. "Are we going to die?" Elias looked down at her. "Not today, little one." They reached an old transport bay abandoned years ago. Broken ships lay scattered like skeletons. Raylan pointed to a small cargo shuttle half buried in dust. "That one still works," she said. "I've been fixing it. Secretly." Elias helped her climb inside. He worked fast, connecting wires, bypassing power locks. The engine sputtered weakly. "Come on," he muttered, hitting the console. "Just once, please." The ship coughed, then roared to life. Blue light filled the cabin, but before they could take off, a voice echoed from the bay entrance. "Gray, don't do this." Captain Rhodes stood there, his rifle aimed at Elias. Behind him, soldiers spread out, surrounding the shuttle. "Step away from the controls," Rhodes ordered. "You're throwing away your career for dirt-born aliens." Elias stood tall. "You don't understand. They're not dirt. They're people." Rhodes laughed coldly. "People? These creatures killed our soldiers. You've seen the reports?" "I've seen lies," Elias replied, "and I'm done believing them." Rhodes' expression turned dark. "Then you're no longer one of us." He raised his weapon. Elias took a step forward, the empathy crystal glowing brighter in his hand. "Maybe not, but I'm still human enough to care." The soldiers hesitated as the crystal began to hum, its light pulsing faster. Raylan's eyes widened. "Elias, what are you doing?" He looked back at her, calm and steady. "This crystal can amplify emotions. It feeds on energy. If I link it to the ship's core, it'll create a surge powerful enough to disable their weapons. But it could kill you," Raylan shouted. Elias smiled sadly. "Some prices are worth paying." Before anyone could stop him, he slammed the crystal into the ship's control slot. The light exploded into a blinding blue flare. Energy waves rippled across the bay. Soldiers dropped their weapons, crying out as the surge passed through them. When the light faded, Elias was on his knees, smoke rising from his gloves. His chest rose and fell slowly. Raylan ran to him. "Elias, stay with me." He coughed weakly. "Go take her. Get out of here." "I won't leave you," she said. He smiled faintly. "You have to. The system won't change unless someone tells the truth. You and Luma. You can be that truth." Tears streamed down Raylan's face. "You foolish human." Elias laughed softly. "I've been called worse." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small metal pendant, a piece of his military tag. "Give this to her when she's older. Tell her humans aren't all monsters." Raylan took it with shaking hands. "Thank you," she whispered. He nodded weakly. "Now go." Raylan carried Luma into the shuttle. The engine roared louder, glowing with the energy of the crystal. She looked one last time at Elias. His figure was bathed in blue light, eyes closed, peaceful. Then she pressed the launch button. The shuttle lifted off, shaking the dust below, and shot into the dark sky. Hours later, the ship landed on the outskirts of the desert plains of Nerath 9, far from the city, far from the patrols. The twin suns rose again, painting the sand in gold and pink. Raylan stepped out, holding Luma close. The wind was warm, soft, almost kind. "Where is he now?" Luma asked quietly. Raylan looked up at the sky. "He's with the stars, my little one. Maybe watching us." Luma opened her hands. The empathy crystal, now faintly glowing, floated between her fingers. "It's still alive," she whispered. The crystal pulsed gently, responding to her touch. Then slowly a figure began to form above it, a small glowing doll made entirely of starlight. It smiled and spoke in a soft voice. "Hello, Luma," Raylan gasped. The doll's eyes shimmered, reflecting both the child's face and the rising sun's. Luma laughed, pure and full of joy. "He gave me a starlight doll, Mama," she said. "He really did." Raylan knelt beside her, tears in her eyes. "Yes, he did. And much more." The doll floated higher, spinning in the air, leaving trails of light behind. The desert glowed faintly blue. The crystal had used the last of Elias's energy, his emotions, his memories, to bring Luma's dream to life. For a long moment, Raylan simply watched, feeling warmth spread through her heart. She looked at the doll, then at the horizon where the city shimmered in the distance. "The humans will come again," she said quietly. "But next time maybe they will come not as rulers, but as friends." Luma nodded, smiling up at the glowing figure, because one already did. Far above, in the sky beyond sight, a faint blue star flickered for a brief moment, brighter than all the rest. Some said it was a satellite malfunction. Others believed it was just light from the ship's engines, but Raylan knew better. She whispered to the wind, "Thank you." "Elias Gray," the wind seemed to answer, carrying the sound of laughter, faint, human and kind. As the sun rose fully, the starlight doll danced in Luma's hands, lighting up the endless desert. And there, on that quiet alien world, A human's final act of compassion became a story whispered across galaxies. The story of the soldier who gave a child a doll made of hope.